Hiya, folks. I wanted to see if I could say something coherent about belief. And to tie it into current events, over the weekend, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in his jail cell. I do that, killed himself, because this is what everybody's thinking. Nobody believes Jeffrey Epstein really killed himself. Or I won't say nobody, but very few people believe it. And in that particular case, well, either he really killed himself, or somebody had him killed, but if somebody had him killed, those people knew that it was going to look suspicious, and they apparently didn't care that it was going to look suspicious because they were prepared for that eventuality, which means we'll never find out. We will never know if Jeffrey Epstein really killed himself or not. There's lots of questions like that that go beyond the Jeffrey Epstein question and go beyond the who killed JFK question or any of those questions, or even go beyond the are UFOs really alien visitors question. And those are the kind of questions I had when I was young, and what I discovered quite early on in my search was that one of the things people turn to when they have questions like, did Jeffrey Epstein really kill himself, or who shot JFK, or are UFOs real, or is there a God, or will Jesus save me? They turn to belief. Belief is the answer to those questions, so you take on some kind of belief. I was studying up on UFOs, as regular watchers of this know, because I was talking to Piruz about making a movie with a UFO theme. And I was talking to a friend about this as we were wandering through a used bookstore, Iliad Books, in North Hollywood, one of the best bookstores in the LA area. And as I was walking around, I just spontaneously said to him, I really wish I could find a book that would make me believe that UFOs are really alien spaceships and that we are being visited by creatures from outer space. It wouldn't matter if that was true or not. I just want to find a book that will make me believe it's true, because if I believe it's true, well, then it might as well be true as far as my internal sort of experience goes. But what I found with myself is that I'm not a believer. I can't believe things based on the way most people seem to believe things. That they sort of repeat it, over and over, or you just kind of accept it because your culture believes it. I never can accept those beliefs, and I've tried. I've really, really tried. And what I liked about Zen is that belief was unimportant as far as the Zen philosophy goes. You could choose to believe the Zen cosmology or the various ideas of the lineage of ancestors. You could believe that your chant of protection for the temple actually protects the temple, or not. It didn't matter. Whereas for these other religions I encountered, those things really, really mattered. But what happened as I continued on this practice of Zen, my fear as I was traveling on through this Zen experience, this experience of studying and practicing Zen, was that I would get to the bottom of it and I would find out it's all bullshit. That it would turn out that everything's untrue, that there's no sort of, for want of a better word, spiritual side to experience, that it's all just this sort of materialistic junk that we are steeped in, that I'm just a guy who's going to die after a few years, and that's going to be the end of it, and nothing happens, and we're all just screwed. But I got the impression from my teachers that wasn't the answer, although they weren't going to put another answer like in my head to replace that one. In fact, Nishijima Roshi was very fond of saying, yeah, when you die, you're just dead, and he didn't believe in reincarnation, and he didn't believe in the idea of karma as a sort of punishment for bad things that other people did. He sort of seemed to believe it in terms of himself, but not in terms of other people. I don't know, these sort of ideas that you hear floating around the Buddhist world, he would just junk all of them. And eventually, as I got more and more deeply into this, I found that there actually is something there to it. There is something there. There is a real experience. There is a way you can open up to a kind of truth that is beyond any sort of truth you can contain in your head, and that is real, and that has a connection with all of this stuff. Because the Buddhists don't have a whole lot of patience with questions like, is there a God, is there a life after death, and all of those questions, the kind of questions that most religions are completely all about, are questions that Buddhism has historically rejected, and within the Zen tradition this rejection is very strong. But as you keep going on with this practice, you find that it does address those deeper questions of what is the meaning of life, what is the meaning of death, what's it all about, Alfie, and all of that stuff. It really does address those in the practice itself. But when you try to put whatever you have understood through the practice into a nice, neat box of words, it doesn't work. It won't work. Dogen, I think, came as close as anybody ever has to putting the truth, the kind of big Buddhist truth, into words. And even he pretty much failed, because you read his stuff and you go, well, I don't know what the hell this is about. And I've tried to put a little gloss on Dogen and tell you what I think it's about, but actually, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing a disservice to Dogen, that you'd be better off just reading what Dogen said than reading my interpretation of it, because I feel like my interpretation of it gets you a little bit farther away from what he's actually saying. But any sort of a concrete form you try to put this into will always get messy and will always be received the wrong way by the people that you give it to. So that's what I wanted to say about belief in short. I will be at the Angel City Zen Center in 2 days on Wednesday, August 14th, 2019, and I will be doing the first part of my chapter on koans, which appears in Letters to a Dead Friend About Zen. And please show up if you'd like to hear that. This will be your first chance to hear it, and it'll be your last chance to hear a chapter from my book, because after this chapter I'm done. So I'm done reading them. But we'll get something new going on that'll be just as interesting. So come and see that. Also, speaking of Angel City Zen Center, I would like to leave you with a sound clip from last night's talk at the Angel City Zen Center. It is what my YouTube video that I just did just now was based on, and I think maybe I got it a little better, but there's only audio, no video to it, so I didn't want to just put it up. So here you go. Here's the clip. Remember that I'm supported by your PayPal and Patreon donations. Those are very important to me. That's how I make my living. The links are below. So see you later. Have a good time. Take a listen. Bye. That's interesting, because what you were saying, I do this YouTube channel, and I've been trying to think of something to do for the next one. And how to make this story short. I've been talking to my friend Piruz, who makes movies, about doing another movie and writing this movie with him, and I wanted it to be about UFOs, so I was studying, looking up things about UFOs. And I find it really interesting, because I was telling a guy I know, after looking at all these UFO books, I said to him, I really wish I could find a book that could convince me that aliens are on Earth and visiting people. And I don't even care if it's true or not. I just want the book to convince me it's true, because that'll be as good as it being true, right? Because it's just, if I believe it, then for me it's true, right? But I could never believe it, And I was thinking back to when I was a kid and reading those books, and the same thing. I wanted to believe this stuff, but I'd be going, this is hokey. And you look at this picture and you're like, that's a frisbee. And, it's just, and I felt the same way about religions. I'd go into churches and things and other sort of spiritual centers, just wanting to, hear the good news of, whatever the hell it was they were going to tell me the good news of. And I'd sit there listening to it going, oh, this is stupid. This is just junk. They're just telling me, junk. And so I guess, maybe Zen, maybe for you it's the same thing. I just found it was great, because it didn't matter if I believed it or not, And all those questions, all those sort of burning spiritual questions, the Zen tradition is to kind of leave those alone, That's the the core Buddhist tradition, all the questions that all the other religions spend all this time on, like what is life after death, and what is God, and what is, the spiritual realm, and all these other sort of things, and they just don't answer them. They're like, oh, we don't know, you know. But there's a sense, though, that there's still something going on there that addresses that need, in a more honest way. And it's not, and I kept for a while going to Zen. My fear, that the sort of nagging fear I was getting as I kept studying Zen more and more, was they're just going to tell me, oh yeah, it's all bullshit. There's nothing here. But I was much relieved to find out, after going through it for a few years, that it isn't bullshit, that there is something going on with Zen that does address those kind of deep questions about the meaning of life and all that. But what they understand, or what the tradition understands, is that those questions, when you try to form a nice, concrete, neat answer to those questions, the answer is never good. It's never any good. It's just the best you can do is sort of a provisional answer. And even if you try to give an honest sort of answer about that stuff based on real experience, it's usually received by the person who hears it the wrong way, and so you might as well just not bother. So you just sort of say, okay, well, just keep doing this practice, and if you keep doing it long enough, you'll see for yourself what the answer to your question is. And then if you accept that and keep doing the practice, then you do see the answer for yourself, and you also notice, this is why they don't answer those questions. It's sort of like, I see why they don't answer those questions, because it just gets stupid every time you try to. But that doesn't mean there's nothing there. It just means that it's something that can't be really addressed in words, at least not successfully addressed in words.